In the heart of West Africa, nestled amongst lush greenery and rolling hills, lay the ancient kingdom of Edo. Edo stood as a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of its people. The city's grandeur was evident in its imposing walls. Generations had walked its vibrant streets, their echoes whispering tales of triumph and loss. The air hummed with vibrant energy, a symphony of life. Every corner held a story, every stone bore witness to time. Edo thrived as a melting pot of cultures and a center of trade, its legacy etched in the very soul of the city. In the heart of Edo, veiled from the clamor of the city, lived Adaz. She was a woman of quiet power, her presence as unassuming as the earth itself, yet as potent as the herbs she cultivated. Adaz was not just a woman, she was a conduit, a vessel through which the ancient magic of her ancestors flowed.
She was the Guardian Witch of Edo, a title passed down through generations of women in her lineage. It was a mantle heavy with responsibility, a sacred duty whispered from mother to daughter since time immemorial.
Adaz carried this weight with grace, her spirit as resilient as the baobab tree, her resolve as unwavering as the flow of the river Niger. From the moment she took her first breath, Adaz was bathed in the traditions of her ancestors. The whispers of the spirits were her lullabies, the scent of herbs burning in the sacred fire, her comfort. She was a child of two worlds, straddling the line between the seen and the unseen, her destiny intertwined with the very fate of Edo. Even as a young girl, Adaz possessed an aura of otherworldly wisdom. Her eyes, deep and knowing, seemed to hold the secrets of forgotten ages. There was a stillness about her, a quiet strength that drew people to her, seeking solace, guidance, and protection. Adaz's power was a legacy, passed down through her maternal bloodline. For centuries, her family served as unseen protectors of Edo, their magic woven into the kingdom's fabric. Each generation added strength and wisdom to the wellspring of power. The first Guardian Witch brokered peace between humans and spirits, their courage fueled by love for their people and strength from ancestors. Adaz's hut stood on the outskirts of the city, nestled amongst ancient trees whose branches seemed to reach out to protect it. It was a humble dwelling, a small, circular structure made of mud bricks and a thatched roof. But within its walls resided a power that resonated throughout the entire kingdom. The air within the hut was thick with the scent of herbs, their pungent aromas mingling with the smoke from the ever-burning fire in the center of the room. Clay pots of various sizes lined the walls, each containing a concoction brewed for a specific purpose: healing, protection, or communion with the spirit world. Dried animal bones hung from the rafters, their hollow eyes seeming to watch over Adaz as she worked. Strange symbols were etched into the earthen floor, remnants of ancient rituals performed by generations of guardian witches. The hut was a living testament to their legacy, a repository of their knowledge and power.
It was here that Adaz communed with the spirits, seeking their guidance, their wisdom, and their protection for the people of Edo. It was here that she brewed her potions, crafted her charms, and honed her connection to the unseen forces that governed their world.
The hut was her sanctuary, her fortress, and her conduit to the mystical heart of Edo. Adaz felt the weight of her legacy keenly. It wasn't the fear of failure that burdened her, but the constant awareness of the precarious balance she maintained.
The fate of Edo, its people, their hopes and dreams rested upon my shoulders, a responsibility that pressed upon me like the humid air before a storm.
She had witnessed much in her lifetime, seen the ebb and flow of prosperity and hardship, watched generations rise and fall like the tides. Through it all, the ancient magic she wielded had remained a constant, a source of strength and solace. But the power came at a price.
I could feel it sapping my vitality, each use of magic leaving me a little more weary. a little closer to the end of my mortal coil.
Yet, she never questioned her duty, never resented the sacrifices demanded of her. For Adaze understood that her life was but a single beat in the vast rhythm of time, a tiny thread in the intricate tapestry of Edo's history. Her purpose was not to live forever, but to ensure that the kingdom she loved would continue to thrive long after she was gone. Adaze's duty went far beyond simply wielding magic. It was about understanding the delicate balance between the human world and the spirit realm, about ensuring that the two coexisted in harmony. It was a responsibility that required not just power, but wisdom, patience, and a deep love for her people.
I am their protector, their guide, and their confidant.
People from all walks of life came to her hut seeking advice, healing, or simply a listening ear. Farmers sought her blessings for a bountiful harvest. Mothers brought their children to be protected from evil spirits. And even the king himself sought her counsel in matters of great importance. Adaze treated them all with the same quiet dignity and compassion, her wisdom dispensed in measured words and gentle gestures.
I understand that my power is not mine to wield lightly, that it is a gift meant to serve the greater good, to protect the innocent, and to maintain the delicate balance upon which Edo's prosperity depends.
Even in moments of solitude, Edo was never far from Adaze's thoughts. She carried the city within her heart, its joys and sorrows, its hopes and fears, all intertwined with her own being. For she knew that her destiny was inextricably bound to that of her people, her life a thread woven into the very fabric of Edo's existence. The rhythm of life in Edo was about to be shattered. A palpable tension hung in the air, a sense of foreboding that settled over the city like a shroud. The whispers of the wind carried tales of unrest from distant lands, of strangers massing at the borders, their intentions unknown.
I have ruled Edo for many years, leading our people through times of both peace and turmoil. But this time feels different. A primal fear gnaws at the edges of my composure. I must consult with Adaze.
She was the protector of Edo, the one who could see into the shadows, the one who could commune with the spirits and glean knowledge hidden from mortal eyes. Only she could shed light on the darkness that threatened to engulf their kingdom. A young messenger was dispatched, his heart pounding in his chest as he raced through the bustling streets of Edo, carrying the weight of the king's summons and the city's unspoken fears.
My destination? The humble hut on the outskirts of the city where the fate of Edo hung in the balance. Wise Adaze, the king requests your presence. He seeks your wisdom in this time of uncertainty. Rise, child. Tell the king that I will be with him shortly.
The messenger arrived at Adaze's hut, out of breath and trembling. He knelt before her, presenting the king's seal. Adaze regarded the young man with a calm gaze. She had known this moment was coming. The spirits had been whispering warnings for weeks, their voices growing more insistent with each passing day. The balance was shifting, the unseen forces aligning in ways that boded ill for Edo. The messenger bowed deeply, relief washing over him, and hurried back towards the city. Adaze watched him go, her heart heavy with premonition. She knew that the king's summons could only mean one thing. A threat to Edo was imminent. Her hands moved instinctively to the beaded necklace she always wore, a talisman passed down through generations of guardian witches. It was time to consult with the ancestors, to seek their guidance in this time of impending darkness.
Adaze, thank you for coming. I fear our kingdom is in grave danger.
Tell me what troubles you, my king.
Night had fallen by the time Adaze reached the palace. The air crackled with tension. She could feel the fear emanating from the guards, their usually stoic faces etched with worry. She was ushered into the king's private chamber, a room usually filled with the sounds of laughter and lively debate, now shrouded in an unsettling silence. The king rose as she entered, his face lined with worry. The king proceeded to recount the rumors that had reached his ears, Tales of strangers with strange weapons, their faces hidden behind fearsome masks, their eyes burning with an unsettling light. These strangers, the rumors claimed, were not content with their own lands. They hungered for more, their greed fueled by whispers of Edo's wealth and prosperity.
I fear an invasion is imminent.
Adaz listened intently, her gaze fixed on the flickering flames of the hearth. The air crackled with unseen energy, the scent of wood smoke tinged with the sharp tang of fear. She closed her eyes, inhaling deeply, seeking answers in the dancing patterns of the smoke.
My king, I will need to perform a ritual. I must seek the guidance of the ancestors.
Whatever you require, it shall be provided.
For generations, the kings of Edo had sought Adaz's counsel. They respected her wisdom, her connection to the spirit world, and her unwavering dedication to their kingdom. But this time felt different. This was not a matter of settling disputes between warring factions or seeking guidance in matters of governance. This was a matter of survival. Adaz knew that time was of the essence. She needed to consult with the ancestors, to tap into their ancient wisdom and seek their guidance. Adaz requested a quiet space, a small courtyard open to the sky, where she could commune with the spirits undisturbed. The king led her to a secluded garden within the palace walls, a place of tranquility and peace, where the scent of jasmine flowers hung heavy in the air. It was here, beneath the watchful gaze of the moon and stars, that Adaz would petition the ancestors for their wisdom and protection. As the moon climbed higher in the night sky, casting long shadows across the garden, Adaz began her ritual. She had exchanged her simple clothes for ceremonial robes, their dark fabric adorned with intricate embroidery depicting ancient symbols of power and protection. She knelt on a woven mat, surrounding herself with flickering candles, their flames casting dancing shadows on the surrounding walls. Her hands moved with practiced grace as she arranged a collection of sacred objects before her. Kola nuts, cowrie shells, a small clay pot filled with water drawn from a sacred spring. With each element in place, Adaz closed her eyes and began to chant, her voice a low thrum that resonated through the stillness of the night. The words were ancient, passed down through generations of guardian witches, a language understood only by those who walked the path between the worlds. The air around her crackled with energy, the flames of the candles flickering and swaying in response to the unseen forces she was summoning. The scent of wood smoke and herbs filled the air, a heady perfume that transported Adaz to the realm of spirits, where the veil between the worlds thinned to a whisper. The spirits came to Adaz in a swirl of smoke and shadows, whispering warnings and prophecies. They showed her visions of the approaching invaders, their faces masks of cruelty, their hearts consumed by greed. She saw the devastation they would unleash upon Edo, the blood that would be spilled. But the spirits also showed her another path, a future where Edo stood strong, its people united. The choice, the spirits made it clear, rested on Adaz's shoulders. And she would defend it, even if it meant facing the darkness alone. The tranquility of dawn was shattered by the ominous beat of war drums resonating through Edo. News of the approaching invaders spread like wildfire, carried by the whispers of the wind. These were not men driven by mere greed or ambition. The drums grew louder, their rhythm relentless, a death knell to the peace that Edo had known. The invaders were at the gates, and the only language they understood was violence. Fear, sharp and cold, cut through the usual vibrancy of Edo. The bustling markets, once overflowing with laughter, stood eerily deserted. Warriors, their faces grim, prepared for battle, strapping on leather armor. The air crackled with a nervous energy, a shared sense of dread. Yet, amidst the fear, there was also a glimmer of defiance.
I will not let them take our home.
Adaz stood atop the city walls, her gaze fixed on the horizon. She had spent the night in deep communion with the spirits, preparing herself for the battle. She knew that she could not defeat this enemy with brute force alone. Closing her eyes, Adaz breathed deeply, summoning the power that flowed through her veins. She was the Guardian Witch, the protector of Edo, and she would not falter. Adaz raised her hands towards the heavens, her voice ringing out across the battlefield. The earth beneath her feet responded to her call, the ground trembling violently. Cracks spread across the battlefield, snaking towards the advancing army. Fear flickered in the eyes of the invaders as they witnessed the earth itself turning against them.
Fire in the sky.
As the invaders stumbled, Adaz unleashed the next wave of her attack. Focusing her will, she called upon the spirits of fire, summoning their fury. The sky erupted in a fiery inferno, bolts of lightning striking the earth. Flames erupted from the cracks in the earth, creating a wall of fire. She would unleash the full fury of her magic to protect her people. As the invaders reeled, a new force entered the fray. From the shadows emerged spectral warriors, their forms shimmering with an ethereal light. These were the ancestors of Edo, summoned by Adaz's call. The spectral warriors moved with a speed and agility that defied nature. Adaz watched in awe and horror as the spirits of her ancestors unleashed their fury. The invaders, their ranks broken, finally broke and fled. Terror lent speed to their retreat as they scrambled over the bodies of their fallen comrades. The spectral warriors pursued the fleeing invaders relentlessly. Adaz watched as the last of the invaders disappeared over the horizon. The invaders were vanquished, their threat to Edo extinguished, for now. The smoke cleared, revealing a scene of devastation. The once pristine fields surrounding Edo were now scarred and scorched. Victory had come at a terrible price. Adaz, her body racked with exhaustion, stumbled amongst the wreckage. She had never witnessed such carnage, never felt the full force of her magic unleashed. The world around her spun, the ground tilting beneath her feet. Adaz closed her eyes, struggling to regain her equilibrium. She had poured every ounce of her strength into defending Edo.
Whispering, I must stand.
Her magic felt like a lead weight, dragging her down. With a monumental effort of will, Adaz forced herself to stand upright. She had to reach the city, had to make sure her people were safe. As Adaz approached the city gates, she was met by a wave of sound. The air throbbed with the rhythmic beat of drums, the joyous melodies of flutes and horns.
Softly they celebrate.
Bonfires blazed throughout the city, casting flickering shadows, but Adaz felt no joy, no sense of triumph. Adaz paused by a fountain, its waters tinted red by the reflection of the bonfires.
The whispers started then, carried on the breeze.
At first, they were faint, barely audible above the din of the celebration. But as the night wore on, they grew louder, more insistent. She had saved them, protected them from a fate worse than death. Adaz stumbled into her hut, the familiar space suddenly feeling alien and cold. She collapsed onto her sleeping mat, her limbs too heavy to move.
As I lay there, I was struck by a chilling realization. The power I wielded, the magic that flowed through my veins, it came at a price. Each time I tapped into the spirits of the land, it took a toll on my mortal form.
Adais stared at her reflection in the polished copper pot. Her face seemed gaunt, her features sharpened by exhaustion. Her eyes, once bright, now flickered with a dull light. The magic was consuming her, accelerating her decline.
How long could I continue before the power consumed me entirely? A choice lay before me, stark and unavoidable. I could continue to serve as the Guardian Witch of Edo, or I could step down and spend my remaining days in peace. The fate of Edo rested on my shoulders.
The choice was hers alone, and the path remained uncertain. News of the victory spread through Edo like wildfire, igniting a wave of jubilation and relief. The king, his heart overflowing with gratitude for Adai's sacrifice, ordered a citywide celebration in her honor. But amidst the revelry, Oba Iware, a man of deep wisdom and empathy, sensed a darkness lurking beneath Adai's forced smile. He found her in her hut, the air thick with the scent of herbs and a palpable sense of weariness. He knelt before her, a gesture that shocked the few royal guards who accompanied him, and offered her a staff crafted from the finest ebony, its top adorned with a single flawless ruby that pulsed with an inner light.
Adai's words cannot express our gratitude for what you have done. You have saved us from annihilation, preserved our legacy for generations to come.
He paused, his gaze meeting hers, searching for a glimmer of the strength that had always defined her.
But I fear at a great cost to yourself.
Adaz, her hand trembling slightly as she accepted the staff, nodded, a bittersweet smile gracing her lips.
My king, it is my sacred duty to protect Edo, to serve as the shield between our people and the darkness that lurks beyond our borders.
The king insisted she rest, ordered his finest healers to tend to her wounds, both physical and spiritual. But the weariness that had settled deep in Adai's bones ran deeper than any potion or poultice could reach. It was the weariness of a spirit stretched thin, of a life force slowly being consumed by the very magic that gave her strength. She couldn't escape the weight of the city's gratitude, the endless stream of well-wishers who arrived at her doorstep, bearing gifts and blessings. They hailed her as a hero, a savior, their eyes shining with an almost fanatical devotion that both moved and unsettled her. Adais understood their adoration, their need to cling to something, someone who represented hope in the face of such overwhelming darkness. But their praise felt like a double-edged sword, a constant reminder of the burden she carried, the ever-present threat that hung over Edo, a threat only she could hold at bay. Each night, as she lay on her mat, the echoes of the battle, the screams of the invaders, the whispers of the spirits played in her mind, a haunting symphony that robbed her of sleep and peace. She was haunted by the faces of the fallen, both enemy and ancestor, their deaths weighing heavily on her soul. Doubt, like a venomous serpent, began to coil itself around her heart. Was this endless cycle of violence, this constant struggle against the forces of darkness, truly the legacy she wanted to leave behind? Was her destiny inextricably bound to bloodshed and sacrifice, her life force destined to be consumed in service to a kingdom that seemed forever teetering on the brink of destruction? For the first time in her long life, Adais questioned her path, the mantle of Guardian Witch that had been passed down through generations of women in her family. Was it a duty, a sacred calling, or a curse that bound her to a life of solitude and sacrifice? The spirits, once a source of comfort and guidance, now seemed distant, their whispers lost in the cacophony of her own doubts. She felt adrift, alone in a world that both revered and feared her, a world that couldn't possibly comprehend the weight of the burden she carried. Even the king's heartfelt gratitude, his genuine concern for her well-being, couldn't penetrate the growing sense of isolation that closed in on her like the walls of her humble hut. She was the protector of Edo, the shield between her people and the darkness. But who, she wondered, would protect her from the darkness within? Days bled into weeks, weeks into months. The physical wounds healed, but the scars left by the battle ran deep, invisible to the naked eye but ever present in the way Adaze carried herself, in the haunted look that had become a permanent fixture in her eyes.
The city returned to its usual rhythm of life, the markets bustling, the children laughing, the drums beating out their ancient rhythms. But a shadow hung over Edo, an unspoken fear that the invaders would return, that the respite from darkness was nothing more than a fleeting illusion.
Adaze, despite her doubts, her weariness, never wavered in her duty. She knew that the threat to Edo was not vanquished, merely subdued. The forces of darkness were patient, insidious, always lurking at the edges of their world, waiting for a moment of weakness, a crack in their defenses.
So I continued my vigil, my frail form a familiar sight atop the city walls, my gaze fixed on the horizon, my hand resting on the ebony staff gifted to me by the king, its ruby pulsing with a soft, reassuring light.
She was the Guardian Witch of Edo, and she would stand watch, vigilant and unwavering, for as long as her dwindling strength allowed. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange, purple, and gold, a breathtaking spectacle that played out each evening above the ancient city of Edo. Life unfolded around Adaze as it always had, a vibrant tapestry of sights, sounds, and scents that spoke of resilience, of a people determined to thrive despite the ever-present threat of darkness.
I have always drawn strength from the energy of my city, the laughter of children chasing each other through the crowded marketplace, the rhythmic pounding of drums echoing from a nearby celebration, the scent of spices and roasting meat mingling in the air, a symphony of life that resonated deep within my soul.
But lately, a sense of detachment had settled over her, a feeling of being both present and absent, as if she were watching the world through a pane of glass. The sounds and colors muted, their vibrancy failing to penetrate the growing stillness within.
The city, once an extension of my own being, now felt like a collection of memories. Each cobblestone street, each intricately carved doorway, each weathered face in the crowd, whispering stories of a past I could no longer fully inhabit. A legacy etched in time.
Adaze paused before a bronze statue, its surface polished smooth by the touch of countless hands. It depicted her ancestor, the first Guardian Witch of Edo, her arms outstretched in a gesture of protection, her face a mask of serene strength. Generations of artisans had worked to capture the essence of the woman who had forged a pact with the spirits, ensuring the safety and prosperity of their kingdom. But looking at the statue now, Adaze saw not just power, but also the weight of responsibility etched into the bronze, the toll that wielding such magic took on a mortal soul. She reached out, her fingertips tracing the lines of the statue's face, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her, the legacy of her lineage woven into the very fabric of Edo.
For centuries, the Guardian Witches had stood watch, their lives intertwined with the fate of the city, their sacrifices ensuring its survival. But was that enough? Was it enough to simply hold back the darkness, to maintain a fragile balance between the human world and the realm of spirits? Or was there more to my purpose, a destiny that extended beyond the endless cycle of vigilance and sacrifice?
The wind whipped at Adaze's robes, carrying with it the scent of rain, a welcome reprieve from the stifling humidity that had settled over Edo. The sky, ablaze with the colors of the setting sun, reflected in the tear that traced a path down her cheek, a single tear born not of sadness, but of a profound longing for something she couldn't quite define. She loved Edo, had poured her heart and soul into protecting it from the forces that threatened to consume it. But lately, a seed of doubt had taken root within her, whispering that true strength lay not in wielding power, but in nurturing something more enduring, something that transcended the endless cycle of violence and vengeance.
Was it possible, I wonder, to break free from the chains of destiny, to forge a new path for myself, one that didn't require me to sacrifice my very essence in service to a power that threatened to consume me whole?
The ruby on her staff pulsed warmly against her palm, a reminder of the king's gratitude, the unwavering faith of her people. They looked to her for protection, for guidance, their hopes and dreams resting on her frail shoulders. Adaz left the city walls behind, seeking solace in the familiar embrace of the forest that lay beyond its borders. Here, amidst the towering trees and the fragrant undergrowth, she could breathe, could feel the pulse of the earth beneath her feet, a primal rhythm that resonated deep within her soul. She knelt amidst a field of wildflowers, their delicate petals unfurling towards the sky, a riot of color against the backdrop of emerald green. Closing her eyes, she placed her hand on the warm earth, feeling its energy flow into her, a gentle current that soothed her weary spirit. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the scent of rain and the distant calls of unseen creatures.
But amidst the natural symphony of the forest, I detect another sound, faint but insistent, like the beating of a butterfly's wings. It is the whisper of the future, a tapestry of possibilities woven from the threads of choices yet to be made. And as I listen, I realize that my destiny is not fixed, not predetermined. I have the power to shape my own path, to choose a future that honors my heart as well as my duty.
The moon, full and luminous, hung in the night sky, casting long shadows that stretched from the forest edge towards the distant silhouette of Edo. Adaz stood at the boundary between two worlds. She had made her choice. She would continue to serve as Edo's Guardian Witch, to protect her people from the forces that threatened their world, drawing strength from the spirits of the land and from the wellspring of love and compassion within her heart. As she turned and walked back towards the city, her steps lighter, her heart filled with quiet determination. Adaz knew the cycle would continue, but this time she faced the future with peace and hope.